In preparation for competitions, athletes go to various lengths to improve their chances of success, from an intense workout routine to a strict diet. One very important part for those in MMA and other sports like wrestling is making weight. In this video, you'll get to know how they achieve that both legally and illegally, and a lot more, so don't go anywhere. What does it mean to make weight in MMA? When a fighter makes weight, it means they have met the weight limit for their particular division. While preparing for competitions, athletes always try many ways to improve their advantage. You see them going over the video recordings of their past outings, looking for what they did wrongly, where they dropped points, or things they could have done better. They also watch videos of their opponents to devise a strategy against them. The more active things they do to give them an edge include maintaining an unbelievably intense workout routine, following a strict diet regimen, taking various supplements, and so on. There is an old saying that more is better, and it is as though athletes know this instinctively, because that is another method they employ to gain an advantage over their opponents. This method is called making weight. It means bulking up before a match, sometimes by over 20 pounds above the required weight. They use different techniques, which I'll still talk about, to rid their body of water before the weigh-in, such that they will fit into the appropriate category when weighed by the officials before the 24 hours preceding the fight. They then replenish themselves with water before the fight to increase their body weight, putting them 10 to 15 pounds or more going into the fight, hoping to confer an advantage over their opponent. What are the weight divisions in MMA? Modern martial arts competitions have changed in terms of the rules from those early days of Veil Tudo and Japanese wrestling. The new rules included the introduction of weight classes, as knowledge about how differences in the weight of fighters play a significant role in the outcomes of matches. Regardless of where your fight is taking place, a basic rule is that you must fight within your weight class. For instance, a male lightweight and a male heavyweight would not be matched together for a fight. You'll only find such pairings in comics, and an athlete who fails to make weight for a match can be disqualified or even fined by the promoters of a competition. The unified rules of mixed martial arts make room for 9 weight classes. They are flyweight, which is up to 125 pounds, bantamweight, between 125 and 135, featherweight from 135 up to 145, lightweight up to 155, welterweight up to 170, middleweight up to 185, light heavyweight up to 205, heavyweight up to 265, and super heavyweight with no upper weight limit. While each division has a weight limit, some promotions give room for an extra pound above the upper limit, provided a title isn't at stake. Some fights also occur at strawweight and atomweight, but those are rare. How do MMA weigh-ins work? MMA has 2 weigh-ins, unlike boxing, where there's usually just one. The first weigh-in is the legitimate one, for which fighters are scheduled, followed by a ceremonial one where the fighters pose in front of the media before the all-important face-off. We'll quickly run through some of the rules. First, each fighter must be within the limit of the specific weight class or be a little below. And since weigh-ins take place on the morning of the day before the fight, fighters who cut have around 24 hours to rehydrate themselves. For a title fight, fighters are not allowed to weigh more than a half a pound above the upper limit for that weight class. And for a fighter who misses the scale by a large margin, they can still be allowed to compete, but they'll forfeit 20% of their earnings to their opponent. Finally, on fight day, doctors will follow a fighter, and if they are still dehydrated, the doctors can call for their disqualification. How do MMA fighters make weight legally? The most challenging thing about making weight for fighters is being able to drop 10 to 15 pounds while preserving their muscle mass and strength, which are the things they'll need for the actual fight. They also have to become completely hydrated and loaded with glycogen in time for the fight, and this process is both difficult and carries inherent danger. There is an art to it, and nutrition plays a central role. There is a full bulking phase, usually done around 3 months before the actual event. The goal during this time is to actually gain weight. The fighter consumes an enormous amount of calories. We're talking about 800 to 1,000 surplus calories. Then about 4 weeks before the event, they wind down by reducing the caloric intake to about 300 to 500. In the following weeks, the fighter monitors their weight and decides if they need to do some more bulking up or maintain their weight if they've reached their target weight. On the other hand, if they've overshot it, they may need to start cutting. When the weigh-in is 48 hours away, they cut down on food and liquid intake in preparation for the fight final 24 hours before the weigh-in. That's when they'll completely stay away from water and food. Some even spend most or part of that day in the sauna to shrink their body cells and make them fit into the weight category they wish to participate in. How do MMA fighters make weight illegally? Some athletes decide to compete in a weight category that is originally below theirs, so they do a long-term weight loss plan. Naturally, this process is accompanied by muscle atrophy, but since they want to retain the competitive edge that their muscle mass gives them, they use some banned substances, either by consuming them or by injecting it themselves with them. Ephedrine is one such drug. It's a central nervous system stimulant that also works by increasing the athlete's metabolism by up to 3%. Ephedrine is sometimes combined with caffeine and aspirin in a certain ratio in a compound commonly referred to as ECA. These work together to help the athlete lose weight. It also enhances their performance and gives them an energy boost. ECA also has anti-catabolic properties, which means an athlete can retain a lot more muscle despite cutting. In recent years, other drugs, such as Cytomel, thyroid drug, have also come into common use to lose body fat. Some MMA fighters, aside from staying off fluids in the golden 24 hours before the weigh-in, use extreme measures like using diuretics, such as Lasix. The active ingredient in Lasix is furosemide, which helps them pass out a lot of water in their urine. And for some athletes, even diuretics are not enough, and they use a more extreme measure like the use of a glycerin suppository, which they insert in their anus. It works by pulling water from their intestines. How unhealthy is it when struggling to make weight? The untimely death of Panamanian boxer Pedro Alcazar was said to have occurred due to brain swelling that ensued after he tried to rapidly rehydrate himself before his fight. This brain damage is one of the several dangerous harms that can come with this practice of subjecting their body to rapid dehydration and attempting to replenish their body water rapidly. As a fact, it's not recommended to lose more than 5% of one's body water. Rapid dehydration can affect heart functioning, requiring the heart to pump harder to supply the body with nutrients, and this can cause heart failure. Another major problem is that this markedly reduced body water can decrease the blood supply to the body's vital organs, such as the kidney, shutting them down. There have also been instances of death due to athletes trying extreme measures to make their weight. How did Muhammad Ali and Antonio Inoki contribute to MMA? MMA, which stands for Mixed Martial Arts and is sometimes referred to as cage fighting, is a full-contact combat sport that incorporates techniques from various combat sports worldwide. In short, it's like a street fight in which fighters are allowed to use any skill in their arsenal against their opponent: boxing, kickboxing, grappling, ground fighting, and so on. The person who coined the term mixed martial arts has been up for debate for a long time, but its first documented use was by Howard Rosenberg during a review of UFC 1 on television. Its origin could be traced to the continent of Asia, particularly Japan in the early 20th century, and to Brazil as a modification of the sport Bale Tudo that existed in the country around that time. During those times, there were no rules, and fighters could do whatever they liked to come out victorious. What we have as our modern-day MMA probably has the famous 1976 fight between Muhammad Ali and Antonio Inoki to thank. Ali was a boxer, while Inoki was a wrestler. This fight brought the sport to public attention and inspired the foundation of promotion companies such as Pancrase in 1993 and fighting championships towards the end of the last century. That's all for now, guys, and thank you for watching. Kindly like this video and click on the subscribe button if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to turn on notifications. Catch you again soon.